I'm Matt Pillar with Life Science Connect and BioProcess Online, and I'm thrilled to sit down for a timely discussion that will address a challenge that's felt across the spectrum of life sciences, but one that's particularly pointed in biopharma, and even more specifically in the cell and gene therapy space. That problem is talent acquisition and retention. And to put as fine a point on it as I possibly can, there's simply not enough skilled talent to fill the growing needs of a space that's emerged as the future of therapeutic development. Now, I'm not going to spew stats at you, but I think every respectable research agency tracking this space is forecasting the year-over-year compound annual growth rate of cell and gene therapies at well more than 20% through the mid-2020s. Some are even pegging that growth at a higher 25%. The forecast for biologic therapies in general is quite similar. There's huge market demand and a record-breaking amount of money in the capital markets to support the growth. But to meet the market demand and get that money spent, we need discovery, design, and manufacturing talent that we just don't currently have. So I'm joined on the line right now by two of the many people who are working hard to change this paradigm. They are Anshul Mangal, president at Project Farma and Precision Advance, and John Khoury, executive vice president at Project Farma. Gentlemen, thank you for making some time to chat with me.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I'm glad you could join us. So let's start the discussion with some kind of color commentary around this explosive capital market for biologic therapies that we're experiencing right now, and cell and gene therapies in particular. If you guys could, and I'm not going to pick on either one of you. I'll let you arm wrestle over who's going to tackle these questions that I'll throw over the wall at you. But if you could paint the picture for us a little bit and tell us, what this market looks like, and if you've ever seen anything like it before.
Yeah, I mean, I'll comment on some of the statistics that are out there, and John's much more experienced in the biologics and in the life science field as I've been. But as of the FDA first approved cell and gene therapies in 2017, and just in a short period of time to date, there are 19 approved cell and gene therapies for about a half dozen diseases. There are 1,220 clinical trials worldwide, over 800 in phase one, about over 680 or so in phase two, and the rest in phase three. Most of these trials, the majority of them are in the US. And as you kind of noted, Matt, the US and the rest of the world, really for that matter, is experiencing exponential growth. There were $20 billion invested in gene and cell therapy last year alone, that's up 10 billion from the previous year. I think, as you can imagine, that's a tremendous number, especially for the climate that we've been in the past year with COVID. So you can kind of figure out how, financial institutions, what kind of confidence level that they have in this particular therapeutic revolution. There are, as I said earlier, over 1,000 therapeutic developers in the world. And again, the majority and over half of them are in the US. Just like as you pointed out, as these therapies progress from early phase clinical to commercial, the workforce needs are going to expand exponentially, and specifically in manufacturing. John, someone who's kind of been in the trenches, not only in biologics, but cell and gene therapy, would love your perspective on, kind of the expansion of the workforce, and if you've seen anything like this before.
Personally, I haven't seen anything like this before. The reality is these are very exciting times for our world. With the Human Genome Project and the brilliant R&D and scientists that have brought so much science forward that substantiates the clinical trials that you just described, Anshul. The reality is, as they say, the top of one man's mountain is the bottom of the next. And those brilliant R&D scientists are now looking for the brilliant manufacturing and technical operations people that can now bring that to a GMP level and deliver it actually for the patients. So it's an exciting phase in the evolution of this industry.
Yeah, for sure. And to your points, Anshul, I recognize that at present the U.S. is kind of leading the space. But I've read some reports. You read enough reports, you get enough contradictory information, right? But I've read some reports recently that say that the UK, which is, I think, right now close on our heels, is projected to overtake the United States in capacity and production in this space in a short period of time. So it's a global issue. It's a global problem. It's not a problem that we're just facing here in the States.
Yeah, no, for sure, it's a global issue. I mean, cell and gene therapies are not those disease areas are not just prevalent in the US, right? It's prevalent in the rest of the world. And we're going to have to scale up manufacturing, not just in the US, but also in the rest of the world. Also, some of these therapies, timing is critical, right? Especially in cell therapy. So localized manufacturing is going to be critical. So building facilities in the US is just going to be just as critical as building facilities in England or in China or India, et cetera, because of the personalized nature of these medicines.
Yeah. So let's kind of cut to the quick here and talk about one of the roots of the problem. Why is it, from your perspectives, that cell and gene talent isn't quite keeping pace with the market?
Well, it's a developing field, experiencing rapid growth, especially in manufacturing. That immediately is going to create a void where we're lacking the right people with the right level of experience, and that's horizontally across every business function and business unit. We like to say that we are building the plane as we're flying the plane. The equipment is evolving. The method or modalities are evolving. How we manufacture the equipment. And that just continues to spiral out all the way to the FDA, feeling like that they are working to have the right amount of people to even evaluate the drugs that are in these trials. So that gap is a change in mentality and getting the right focus and the innovative focus that doesn't normally exist in a very proper GMP environment, right? We are all about our quality attributes, our strength, identity, purity, safety of our drugs. And as the equipment evolves, as the data integrity evolves, the integration evolves, all these things are creating gaps in the supply chain. As Anshul highlighted, whether it's the size of the batch requiring more people to produce the mass amount of medicines, or personalized medicines that are the result of the autologous therapy process. So it's difficult in a field that already is explosive to now decrease the batch size, increases the headcount required to manufacture, evaluate, and release the drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, to add to that, I mean, the science has been around for decades, right? Gene cell therapy in terms of research and development is not something that's new and novel. But it really started becoming industrialized in just the past 4 or 5 years, right? The first commercially approved drugs just happened in 2017. That's not that long ago. So between then and now, you've had 19 new therapies. Well, how are they going to manufacture all those new therapies, right? You're going to have new manufacturing facilities and CDMO partnerships that scale up over time to manufacture these facilities. And now to build those facilities with all the different attributes that John highlighted in mind is going to need a workforce to be able to do so. And that workforce is just not going to have the experience in cell and gene therapy because that just wasn't there before, right? It's a new field that's innovative, that's happening today. And the only way to gain experience in the field is to actually be in the field and do the work. Yeah.
So let's talk about the I guess the manifestation of this problem on the continuum. A lot of this discussion so far has kind of we're almost talking to in a future tense, like we're going to have these problems. These problems will become more apparent. How is the problem perhaps manifesting itself right now? And what does that projection look like? More specifically, this lack of skill, is it stalling progress in a measurable way right now? And what will that look like as we move forward if we don't solve it?
Yeah, I mean, there's been endless stories written about the various bottlenecks that are causing delays in gene and cell therapies, right? Manufacturing capacity, key equipment, raw materials, and probably the most prevalent is what we're talking about today is a trained and experienced workforce. And not having an experienced trained workforce can significantly slow down your manufacturing scale up. An inexperienced workforce they just can't foresee the issues that are going to come up when you're scaling up a novel process, and they won't be able to resolve problems that arise efficiently. Mm-hmm. And John has been on the boots on the ground scaling up cell and gene therapies for the past 5 years. And he knows this better than even I do. Like every manufacturing project has a scope, schedule, budget. Those are 3 words that all of us on any manufacturing build live by. And lack of skill can certainly be easily measured by deviations in the scope, schedule, and budget. And John, I'd love to have you comment on what some of the things that you've seen working at the various cell and gene therapy companies.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a speed to market environment. How do you have speed when you are void of talent? Well, it makes the competition for that talent even higher. So in the middle of this vacuum for talent where we're trying to move people and give them the right skills to do it, we also have more money and more investment being deployed into the space, which now creates another vacuum because now we're vying for the same people, the same units, of talent across different organizations. So that's also creating a stifling effect. I think all organizations have a great vision, a great mission to push forward. But to the scope, schedule, and budget, as Anshul highlighted, we're trying to move as fast as possible. And that schedule, as talent moves around through the industry and spreads itself, slows down that momentum on different projects. And in parallel, we're trying to train up those new people that are coming into the space. It's going to create a little bit of turbulence, but we need to be focused on the realities here, which is we're going to be creating cures for the incurable. Future that is so different than what we have even thought of as children. I'd never had the idea that we'd have this opportunity. I think if we have the right environments and we have the right vision, we'll get through this little bit of turbulence as more people move into the space.
Yeah, I've been thoroughly impressed with the industry. John and I have, and through Project Farma and Advance, we've worked with 80 plus different therapeutic developers. And the dedication that the workforce has to getting better, to becoming more efficient, to lowering costs is really tremendous. And I think it goes back to just the patient-focused mission, right? Like these drugs are going to save someone's life. And that is just extremely compelling. So it just makes you come into work and work that much harder to get trained, to become more efficient, to lower costs, so we can get these drugs to the patients and families that need them the most.
Yeah. So I want to challenge you with a question about technology. So, in my position, as you can imagine, I'm pitched by the vendor community in particular on a daily basis, to the degree that if I believed every pitch I received, I would believe that people will soon no longer be necessary. From development, from discovery through production, everything can be automated. Everything can be tackled through machine learning. Even in manufacturing capacity, what do we need people for if we have machines, intelligent machines? So tell me why can't we depend on machine learning and in the manufacturing space, automation, to bridge this human talent gap?
I think we will. In fact, in biologics, we are doing that. There's a lot more automation than there was early in the day. And now as we move into the advanced therapy space, the equipment is maturing to match our needs. It's just not there yet. It's not integrating into all the other softwares. I call, just to go to a different industry, it's almost like the time when, we had research in motion with the BlackBerry. Apple hadn't come out with an iPhone. We had Android. Motorola was vying. There were so many, and all these companies were individually trying to tackle cell phone service. We're at that similar point in our therapies. We've got a bunch of different equipment vendors that are vying for space. And right now, until they can integrate outside of their ecosystem, it's going to be hard to get the advancements of AI. I know we've talked a lot about AI in the news today with the different vaccines that have come out. I think AI can help our process development and our research and R&D scientists build more effective tests and iterate from there. But until the equipment can integrate, the value of AI and or automation just won't be realized. And the equipment is evolving. The manufacturing process is evolving. There's difference in the manufacturing process across the different indications. So to then bring automation to it, it's going to take time until we can get the more singular platforms or processes to manufacture the drugs. Anshul, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, Matt, there's just not enough capacity. We just don't have enough square footage right now to manufacture all of these drugs. The time it takes to manufacture these drugs sometimes can be 1 to 2 years before a clinical batch is produced. So we just need more and more infrastructure, right? And that infrastructure today cannot be developed by AI or machine learning, right? Someone has to go in there and pound that nail and put that brick and mortar down so we can get capacity, so we can have PD labs and QC labs where scientists do the work, so we can have clean room suites where we can manufacture these great medicines. So until we have some of that capacity issue really ironed out, integrating all the equipment is great, and the AI and machine learning is great, but we can't apply some of those principles until we just have the physical capacity that we need today.
Yeah.
And the leaders in the space, Matt, are really pushing those same equipment vendors that you're talking about to iterate their equipment to bring it to the manufacturing process so that we can bring down costs, that we can fill the gap. Because over the next 5 years, the hope is that we fill the gap with additional people and resources, but also automation and manufacturing automation. So therefore, together, we can cross this void that we're working through.
Yeah, and again, remember, this is very personalized medicine, right? So each piece of each therapeutic developer is demanding something new from various equipment vendors, right? So over time, there will be more standardized platforms. But we're just going to have, it's just going to take time for us to get there to standardize the various different platforms we have today, so that we can service a lot of different type of techs that the therapeutic developers are developing.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a purely anecdotal observation, so take it for what it's worth. But you talk about the personnel and skills gap, and as you can imagine, I spend a lot of my time interviewing executives from cell and gene and biopharma companies, from the C-level through production. And again, anecdotal, but I got to tell you, the majority of them are nearing retirement age. I can tell you this. So when we get back to that people element, as we sit right now, what specific skills are you seeing in short supply?
Well, if I could address your anecdote, though, we have a very special place in this world, and the missions of these companies really appeal to all workers across different diversities, different age groups. And I think that appeal is only going to flood people to the market where there's opportunity. So while, as you highlighted, there's going to be a transfer or a transition, but we're looking to their experience and leadership to overcome these challenges. Mm-hmm. And I think that the opportunity and the mission-driven purposes that we have in this industry, I think it'll fill itself.
Anshul, you were going to say something there.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of answering your question directly, I mean, the shortages run across every functional team at every level. Again, there's been great science and research and development in this field, and I feel like there's no shortage of scientists. But even there, I'm sure when you talk to the scientists, that they have needs that are not being fully met. For John and I, we're kind of knee deep in manufacturing, and the talent gap in manufacturing is just it's just severe. And that's just something that everybody talks about and has been talking about recently. And I think that's a byproduct of the experience just not being there, and the demand being so high, right? So the demand is high. We need more capacity, and as a result, we just need more talent to able to fill that capacity. Mm-hmm. But then there's other areas as well that need support. Commercialization, taking a drug to market, doing various economic models for different therapies in different countries, right? There's just not very many drugs that have become commercialized yet. So these various economic models, and go-to-market strategies are still fairly new and developing. So as more and more products become commercial, more and more people are going to need to become more comfortable with these models, have more experience in go-to-market strategies and commercialization of these drugs. And then you have regulatory, as John pointed out earlier. The FDA themselves earlier this year said that there's a general problem at the moment getting sufficiently trained staff to review gene therapy applications, not only in the review of manufacturing, but all aspects of the FDA review process, right? The number of applications that have been filed with the FDA in the gene and cell therapy space has just grown exponentially, right? And they just can't keep up with that process. So really from all different sizes and shapes and all different functional levels. John, in the actual therapeutic developer level, what do you think their biggest needs are?
I mean, the skills exist. It's a mentality that needs to be adjusted, right? We've been manufacturing drugs for a very long time, but how do we get from a very structured, stable environment that's platform-based to, as I mentioned earlier, flying the plane while building the plane? Mm-hmm. That's not an easy transition, just mentality-wise. And so when I reflect, it's just making change the new norm, getting people comfortable with change. Today, I might be developing a process using a manual approach. Tomorrow, there might be some equipment we're evaluating, and we're going to be able to decrease our footprint and increase our efficiency by implementing that new equipment. So making change the norm, leveraging our experience versus relying on it. In biologics today, we talk about automation, data integrity, Part 11 compliance, et cetera. And all those activities are very structured and regimented, and there's an expectation of integration. It doesn't exist right now in advanced therapy. We are pushing the whole ecosystem forward every day. And it's a mentality approach, an entrepreneurial or innovative approach that doesn't normally live in pharma. We want to make sure that each tablet or each biologic that is ever put into our bodies is identical and it meets the quality attributes. Well, now we're trying to do that with these advanced therapies in smaller batches, in many cases personalized medicine. The equipment's evolving around that, which creates a lack of integration. It creates more requirements for release testing, more samples, and I keep using the word more. Well, then we need more people until the innovation catches up. But I think it's a mentality approach. It's not a skill that I don't believe people can pick up, but I think that's the key to success is how are you going to teach that innovative approach that we left in college sometimes? Yeah.
Well, that's a great place to pivot. I feel like we've covered sort of the problem statement pretty thoroughly here in this conversation. So let's start talking about some solutions, to affect the forecast for talent in the near, mid, and long terms. I guess it's a two-part question. Maybe John, I'd ask you for some, reflections on what you see biopharma companies and cell and gene companies doing right now, what tactics they're deploying to attract and retain talent, and then maybe go from there. Both you, John, and Anshul, and tell me about the work that you guys are doing to affect change on this paradigm.
Yeah, I think first we're investing in our communities, right? We're partnering with local colleges. We're sharing knowledge as an industry, so that way together we can push the whole ecosystem forward. There's obviously proprietary information at each client, at each company, but we need to expand so that we can teach people the importance of the industry. We have to have a train to retain mentality, invest in our team, knowledge share what is happening, how the industry is evolving, and really retain the attention of our team. And if we train to retain, then our team is engaged. They are innovative. They're entrepreneurial. They're not just sticking to their work stream. They understand that work stream is going to evolve and change. Ultimately, right now, there's a lot of investment in the space. And that investment is getting put into the people, right? The people are driving the products. So I think that those three items are major initiatives that our partners are putting in and we're putting in to make sure that we're, advancing the industry.
Yeah. I mean, there's just a lot going on to kind of help train and develop the industry. There are more, there are new training and development centers popping up all the time with more partnerships between private and public organizations. There's significant grants that the federal and local governments are providing in terms of local and state incentives to drive innovation, to have folks build in North Carolina, the Research Triangle Parks of the world, or on the East Coast in Maryland or in Boston. And those incentives not just go towards scaling up manufacturing, but they're also going towards training and developing talent. There are more grants for university to incorporate advanced therapies into the curriculum. John and I have been fortunate enough to walk the North Carolina State's BTech Biomanufacturing Training and Education Campus, which is a unique cross-disciplinary institutional center that provides education and opportunities for folks in the biomanufacturing and the biotechnology industry. Ohio State University just recently announced a collaboration with Nationwide Children's Hospitals and Jobs Ohio, and they're collaborating on a massive $1.1 billion project in Columbus focused on developing new gene and cell therapies to treat genetic disorders. Part of that endeavor is Ohio State is committing to produce over 20,000 graduates over the next 15 years in the STEM field, including health science, vital materials, computer science, and other parts of the biotechnology industry. So these types of things are happening all around us. And I think all the federal governments, private institutions and public institutions have really taken notice of what's happening in cell and gene therapy, where those talent bottlenecks are, and they are driving innovation forward. Project Farma has noticed that as well, right? We made it a focus from the day we started our firm that we're going to plant our flag in cell and gene therapy. We partnered with the leading cell and gene therapy institutions there were at that time, and now we've partnered with 60 plus cell and gene therapy organizations. Everybody that comes through Project Farma goes through what our engineers have nicknamed Project Farma University, where we provide the baseline skills that you need to even, first start on a cell and gene therapy project. And then we provide hands-on training and development for each one of our engineers to ensure that they get the training and development they need to further the field. We are launching with Precision for Medicine and Precision Value in Health an initiative called Precision Advance. The Precision Advance is a collection of experts in the gene and cell therapy space that can address the needs of the sector all the way from clinical to manufacturing to commercialization all in one place. It's the first of its kind type of initiative where we can really guide an early stage gene and cell therapy company all the way from early in the process to all the way to commercialization, which is extremely exciting. The other things we've done is develop playbooks. We nicknamed our our manufacturing playbook as the Advanced Therapy Manufacturing Playbook, ATMP, so that companies don't have to start from scratch, right? Each one of our partners that we partner with, we have a baseline knowledge that they can start from, and we. They have access to all of our libraries, templates, everything that we've done in the cell and gene therapy space for the past 5 years is at their disposal. And I think that one thing that we've also done a good job is I think it's an obligation that we have as being part of the cell and gene therapy community to move the community further and share our knowledge and that we've learned with the community. So some things that we love doing is speaking at conferences, writing white papers, whatever we can to share what we've learned with the rest of the industry. There's a big enough pie for all of us in this industry. And I think the only way to really effectively move this industry forward is to share everything done and not holding it close to your chest. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you addressed some great resources there, Anshul, and it's obviously running through sort of the litany of different resources and opportunities that you just did. It's obviously a multi-pronged challenge, and there are multiple prongs to the solution to the challenge. Two, I guess, major prongs being one, that kind of internal train to retain culture, mindset change, John, that you talked about. And then two, Anshul, you mentioned several of the education-focused initiatives, kind of bringing up the next generation of skilled workers for the space. If I'm in the position of leader of an emerging biopharma, an emerging cell and gene company, where would you advise me to sort of? Is there a right place to start, or do I just take all the forks in that road? Right? Like I guess I'm asking, where would you advise me to kind of start from within my company and its future in terms of sustainability? Where should I start?
John, you want to comment on that first?
Oh, sure. I would focus on the culture. I would focus on how we're going to invest in our people, how we're going to retain our staff. There's a lot of opportunity and there's a lot of investment in salaries, benefits, comp. But that's not the main driver for people staying. They stay. No one quits on they quit on their boss, not on their company. Mm-hmm. So how are we going to instill a culture that's going to be a foundation point to make sure that we are being mission driven, that we are delivering for the patients, that we understand the complexity, and that as we encounter those challenges that are going to inevitably happen, are we going to take those and turn our, put our tail between our legs and run? Or are we going to look at it like, man, there's a patient at the end of this that truly needs our help. And those can't just be words. Those need to be actions. They need to be initiatives. They need to be a sharing. Anshul highlighted quite a few things that we've been doing. We do a lot of tech talks, white papers, not just for the external community, but the internal team. If we aren't challenging our team, how are they going to have that innovative, entrepreneurial, refreshed eyes that come with every new gene therapy? And so I would focus on culture first and foremost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, the companies that stand out that have really been successful in the field, I think, they've admitted to themselves, yes, we're not going to be able to hire every single person that has direct cell and gene therapy experience, but we're going to hire those people that are really just aligned with our mission and do whatever it takes to get these therapies to the patients that need them the most. And then they've also been true to themselves in recognizing their weaknesses and looking for and leveraging external partnerships that'll help them train and develop their internal team and make them better as a whole. That's why organizations like us have thrived, because we can be that that education and training gap for you, right? And we can fill that hole. We can provide expertise where if you don't have that expertise, we're happy to share our libraries, playbooks. And there's other organizations like us in different disciplines that will do the same. So I think the companies that have succeeded have really first brought in folks that really believe in the mission, and then found those external partnerships to fill in any gaps that they have, and not being afraid to admit, what they don't know.
Mm-hmm. Looking again, referring to the sort of laundry list, Anshul, that you shared of resources, can we consider Project Farma sort of a clearinghouse for access to those resources? Like, I guess the question is, where can I turn? How can I kind of turn to Project Farma to learn more and explore new resources?
Yeah. Call us, text us, LinkedIn message us, DM, any which way. I mean, honestly, Matt, I mean, the reason why John and I got into this field is not for personal selfish reasons. There's a lot of things we could have done, but the reason why we really did this is because we really believe in the mission. The both of us have attended those rallies with those kids facing devastating diseases. We've watched the videos of families that have to have a patient with a terminal illness that are dealing with us on a day-to-day basis. We've shared tears with our team and our various partners, and that's what really motivates us. So regardless of whether we're a vendor or partner for you, if there is an issue that you cannot tackle, please reach out to us. We're always available to talk about the field and how to further the field. And if we can't answer the question for you, we certainly know enough about the industry to find a resource for you that can, because in the end, getting these drugs to the patients safely and effectively is what matters the most.
Excellent. So, being the subpar, kind of average interviewer that I am, I always like to ask my guests if there's anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to address. Like what haven't we covered that perhaps you'd like to make a point of before we conclude?
I thought you did an excellent job, Matt. And,
Why, thank you, John.
The subpar is unfair to you, but I think one of the words that Anshul, I heard you say over and over again, was partnership, and we're all in this together. And the more we, break down the business relationship and turn it into true partnerships to advance these industries, the more quickly we'll get these medicines to the market and get them to the patients. One thing, Anshul, when you're talking about precision advanced and our mission of this, aggregated offering, it's to ultimately expedite the time that it takes to go from R&D to commercial manufacturing, which ultimately gets it to the patient sooner. On some of the projects, we counted how many, for every day that we were going to get this product to market, how many lives we were going to save. If that doesn't motivate you and set a bar of what you're doing and how you directly impact that every day with your decisions, and I think that foundation and partnership and the opportunity with Precision Advanced to really shorten that time frame through this aggregated knowledge base, it can fill that void while companies are still getting off their feet.
Yeah, I'm just in awe of our industry on a day-to-day basis, especially with what happened this past year. Through the pandemic, I'm really impressed on how the industry was able to galvanize and bring a vaccine to market in such a short period of time when normally it takes so much longer. And that just truly has it truly brings to light what we can accomplish as an industry when we really put our mind to it. And I feel no differently about the cell and gene therapy industry, right? We're in the midst of a therapeutic revolution. There are bottlenecks everywhere. But what I'm really hopeful for is that there are some incredible individuals that are working in this field to resolve those bottlenecks. And I am sure that we will resolve those bottlenecks and move innovation forward as we've done in such a short period of time in this space. So.
Excellent. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Well, Anshul and John, thank you. I thank you guys for addressing these questions, and more importantly, I thank you for the important work that you're both doing to ensure that we have a sustained pool of skilled talent that's ready to address those unmet medical needs and the promise that we see in biologics and cell and gene therapies.
Awesome. Thank you for your time, Matt.
It's been my pleasure. I'm Matt Piller with BioProcess Online, and I thank you for joining us.